Okay. What's the start of every video? I go, okay, I bet it bothers everybody. You're like, oh my god, every video starts it out with, okay. Next time I'll cuss at the beginning of the video. um, Something people keep asking me. Someone got like a Fuji, how do you like this hemp robe that I made by hand? Well, I cut the pattern out and I sewed it together by hand on a sewing machine. This thing's like 20 years old. It's made out of hemp twill. No, I do not smoke that stuff. I know hemp and marijuana are kind of the same thing. Someone out there correct me. I don't know. I don't smoke or do any drugs, okay, especially marijuana, but it is very comfortable, although a little too hot. Asked me about the Fuji 10 to 24 millimeter wide, and I get asked this question a lot, so it'd be best to answer it. Is that whatever the lens is, and this is a general rule, it is not always applicable. Like we have a 16 to 55 here, and that's not a wide zoom. He was asking about the 10 to 24 Fuji, and he thought there might be something wrong with the lens because at 10 millimeters it was pretty damn soft. Here's the rule of thumb that is almost always applicable, and now we're going to talk about ultra-wide lenses. Say like the Takina 11 to 16 millimeter, or like say the Nikon 10 to 24 versus the Nikon 12 to 24. It's like, well, I get more of the 10 to 24. No, you don't. They just made it slightly wider, but the 2 millimeters wider that it really sucks. All ultra-wide lenses, and this is a general rule which is about 95% accurate, is you chop off the widest 3 or 4 millimeters and the furthest 3 or 4 millimeters, and then you have the true lens. So, for example, just the Fuji, for example, the Fuji 10 to 24, it is really like a 14 to 20 or 21 millimeter lens. 14 to 20 or 21, okay? You do have to chop that. It's kind of like cutting the crusts on the bread. It's like, well, you got a big piece of, like you can get a bag of chips and you're like, oh my god, there's a big bag of chips, and you pull the bag, it's like, whoosh, it's just a bunch of air in there. All those wide lenses, and they make them that way they know that they're too damn soft at their near and far end. They know. Nikon screws on this, Fuji, everybody screws you on this. They are giving you a bag of chips, and it's like, oh my god, you feel it, and you go, whoosh, and it's just mostly air. They know that they should not have created those lenses with those allowable focals. Okay? The Takina 11 to 16 is really like a 13 to 14 millimeter. It's like, well, it's a wide zoom. It's 11 to 16. No. Yeah. Yes and no. Same thing with Nikon. They're 16 to 35. If the far end is around about 35, then we're talking about a wide zoom. 16, 14, 24, 16, like the Tamron 15 to 30. Now there's an exception. Now it's certainly not perfect at 15, but once you hit 16, which is just 1 millimeter above, and the focal, awesome. 16 millimeter to really like a 28. Even though it's a 15 to 30, you really have the perfection in there at 16 to 28. You have to understand that when you buy these lenses. Like, I bought a 10 to 24, and I go, no, girlfriend, what you bought really was like a 14 to 20 millimeter Fuji lens. All the companies do this, okay? It's almost universal across the board on wide zooms. What about on telephotos? Well, then you're looking at between 10, 20, 30 millimeters on either end. Sometimes nowhere near that much. Depends on the lens and the design. But generally speaking, if you've gone to the farthest end of, you know what maximum means? Maximum means you're right at the edge. One person's definition of where they should set the maximum and minimum, unfortunately all lens companies, it's like, how far can we really take it and have the images passable? It's like, well, this lens is only good at 12 millimeters, but you can make a passable image at 10 millimeters. Well, let's mark it at 10 millimeter. Well, that's what we'll say it is. It's at 10 to... No. So keep that rule in mind. And this is especially true of like ultra zooms and super zooms, like 18 to 300 and these 5 millimeter to 3,000 millimeter lenses, 28 to 300. It's not a really true 300 millimeter. Basically, just considered a 280 millimeter at the far end. okay, and like a 35 or 40 millimeter on the near end. You could just chop all that crap off on either end, just like plucking the crusts out on your bread. You know, didn't you remember? Did you ever take the crust off your bread and make a sandwich? Because crusts kind of suck. Depends on who you are, though, right? I never liked crust. Sandwiches without crust taste a lot better. So all wide zooms and all telephotos, but especially wide zooms, are hunks of bread that you need to rip the crust off of, or at least consider that they don't exist. And if you understand that, then you're not going to bitch about a lens. I think people are bitching about the lens. It's just a fact. It's something you deal with. You just know if a lens is marked 10 to 24, it's really like a 13 to 20 or 14 to 20. It is what it is, you know? That is the way it is. Primes exist for a reason, you know? If primes are no better than a damn zoom, then, you know, people wouldn't be raving about awesome prime lenses like I do and tons of other really knowledgeable people do. So, is what it is. So, that's the rule of ultra-wide lenses and partially so telephoto zooms. Ultra-wide zooms, excuse me. Not ultra-wide lenses in general, but ultra-wide zooms, excuse me. And just keep that in mind. Hey, what? Right? Okay, bye.